Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tales and Myth and Mayhem and our little game of Fallout. It never fucking changes, because it doesn't. It never does. Anyway, say hello, players. Hello.
Hello, players.
Hello, players.
Hello, players.
Hello.
Players.
These are all playing our characters for today, so let's start. This is going to be a bit more structured and sort of passing a very eventful amount of time in the quickest and most effective way I could work out. So, players, go with me on this. You will be unleashed onto the wasteland to do as you wish in short order. But first, war. War never changes. From the first baboons who picked up sticks to fight their primate rivals to the Great War itself, war never changes. When war is announced, soldiers begin marching, and whole communities, whole towns, whole settlements, whole cities, even whole countries can radically change in the blink of an eye. It is 2 p.m, several hours after you return from the Boston Public Library. Earlier, once the information Knight Maxey brought with him from the north has settled in the minds of John Hancock, the mayor of Goodneighbor, and Betsy, the leader of Monofonto Towers, they both made the same decision. Goodneighbor and Monofonto Towers have been preparing for war for weeks. Everyone knew a war was coming, but nobody could have predicted this war. Betsy and John step out onto the balcony of the State House in the centre of Goodneighbor and announce to everyone that Monofonto Towers and Goodneighbor will be going to war with the Institute and the Forge. Augusta, Jade, you left Edinburgh seeking a replacement godboard to ensure that you would be able to maintain the life-sustaining infrastructure you had built for yourself and others. You left your home only 2.5 weeks ago. And now you're facing all of this. You've not had the time to process the loss of your community's lead trader, Freddie, and you may not get the chance anytime soon, as now your mission isn't just to save your people, but to save everyone. Carl, you originally joined this group seeking a payday. You learned that many of the things that you had been told about these people was wrong, and have stuck by them to help them in their hour of need. Your talents impressed the last surviving member of the legendary Minutemen, General Isaacs, who is now asking you to form the Minutemen's replacement, whatever that may be. But your plans for the future have to be put on hold for now, as you are about to be given the opportunity to show your worth not just to General Isaacs, but almost the entire population of Boston. Herbie, you were just returning from another gunrunner's transaction that you were facilitating. When you and your co-workers stopped off at a library, them to rest, and you to find something to read the next time you take a shit. Several hours later...
And to wipe with.
And to wipe, of course. Cleanliness is next to godliness. But several hours after just stopping off at the library, you've now found yourself directly involved in the biggest war to face the Commonwealth since the world was turned to ash centuries before. It's been a hell of a day for you, Herbie. 0 to 1,000 miles per hour. Once Betsy and John have made their announcement, everything around you all begins to move very quickly. Several hours later, it's now around 6 p.m. Throughout the day, hundreds of people have been going between Goodneighbor and Monofonto Towers, coordinating and preparing for the war. Goodneighbor has been transformed. Zeb has travelled from Monofonto to oversee distributing weapons, and hundreds of Goodneighbor residents, Monofonto residents, are variously practicing at makeshift gun ranges all over town. Some are drinking, doing chems and having a merry old time singing. Dr. Malibu and Professor Doctor are hastily converting some pre-war ice cream vans into makeshift mobile hospitals, only stopping to occasionally disappear into Dr. Malibu's van for minutes at a time, where the van would rock violently in a way that you cannot help but find unsettling. Beatrix is making truly impressive amounts of hot drinks and hot meals and distributing them out of her cafe. Magnolia is in the centre of town putting on a show for the troops. The scene is similar at Monofonto Towers, who receive their instructions over radio and prepare themselves to join the army being risen in Goodneighbor. As you are all making your way through the busy, chaotic streets of Goodneighbor, you are witnessing the birth of a new army, the Commonwealth United Forces, a name John Hancock insisted on, much to the annoyance of Betsy. Your weapons have been returned to you. In a time of war, it would be stupid to hold all everyone's weapons in a cabinet, so all of your weapons have been returned. However, Augusta, you notice that your 44 pistol was not amongst your things, but you have no time to investigate that now. John Hancock spots you in the crowd, Augusta, and hands to you the locked box with the 3 mini-nukes inside and says, "You're going to be needing them. Just don't tell Betsy I gave them back to you."
Thank you. But yeah, I'll look after those.
All right, good. Hey, Phoenix, put that down. You're on assault. You're not on heavy. And he wanders off to go and chastise someone who clearly picked up the wrong weapon. You continue making your way through the crowded streets, as you have all been called to the strategy meeting, where the war plans and movements of this new Commonwealth United Force will be drawn up by Betsy, John Hancock, Frank Sullivan, Betsy's number 1, Dr. Amari, Goodneighbor's lead scientific mind, Nick Valentine, a resident and best expert available when it comes to what Diamond City is and what it's about, General Isaacs, one of the most well-respected soldiers in the Wasteland, Knight Maxey, the source of almost all the intel that everyone has from the north, and Zeb, the gunrunner leader. Augusta and Jade, you have been included at John Hancock's insistence as the defenders of the Commonwealth, much to the chagrin, I don't know how you say that word, of Betsy. Carl attends with General Isaacs, and Herbie attends with his boss, Zeb. As you arrive outside the third rail, Dr. O'Malley approaches you all. She is holding something. She says, "Hey, everyone, thanks for the sample. I spent the whole day on it and found some truly awesome applications. We will go over all of that in the strategy meet, but here is your own mobile synth scanner." Jade, she hands you what appears to be a microscope with a circuit board and a small screen bolted to it, and a battery pack that is almost as big as the microscope. The circuit board has a large, thick needle sticking out of it. It is about the same size as a basketball and quite heavy. "You see, what you do is," she says, "so you stab whoever you're checking, and it will tell you if it's synth blood on the screen there. Do you have any questions?"
Where do you stab him?
I don't think so.
Anywhere that pumps blood.
Carotid artery. All right.
Just for the, I don't know, not the fun of it. That's the wrong word. Do we know if will Knight Maxi, is he a synth?
No, he is not a synth.
All right. I cannot hear Jade, so I will refresh and come back. I apologize.
It's all good. But yeah, no, I'll need to reconnect him when he comes back. But yeah, Dr. Murray tells you, no, we tested him. We've never seen a ghoul, or whatever he is, as a synth. We've never seen synths make Generation 3s that look like ghouls or look like mutants. They always look human. Which makes sense because they tend to look down on those who are they see as less than human.
Don't have to tell me.
No, I'm sure I don't. Anyway, we've got to go to the meet. At that point, she turns and she heads into the third rail, and you all follow her. Jade, you have now received the synth scanner. The synth scanner is in quotation marks. I'm going to just edit your character sheet a little bit and reveal that.
For the people watching, some of our character sheets say things like "secret thing, don't look" at the moment.
Yeah, so I've revealed on this sheet what you have. You have been given a synth scanner in quotation marks, because really, it's just a big needle. You're not really scanning anything. You are stabbing things. So how this works is that you can use this as part of a medicine check to scan someone or to check someone to see if they are a synth. However, every time you use it, that person, you are stabbing them. So they lose 1 hit point. You can also use it as an attack, as a weapon. And all of the stats are included on your sheet. It doesn't do much damage, but it will do some. And it will be able to tell you almost instantly if the person you are fighting is a synth. However, this is a very heavy object and requires both hands to operate. So you won't be able to like have a weapon in one hand firing away and then just stab with the other. You've got to basically put a weapon away and hold it with both hands to use it effectively. So, yeah. That is the synth scanner.
Yep. Perfect. Nice one.
So, you all enter the third rail and head down into the main bar where the strategy meet will take place. John Hancock is waiting for everyone standing by the bar as everyone sits around a massive table that has been placed in the middle of the room. He addresses everyone who is present. Welcome, everyone. We all know why we are here, but before we start, I have some major housekeeping to attend to, starting with the least urgent. I know you were all curious about the plans myself and Mondo Sir Jones were making in regards to creating a Commonwealth provincial government. I must urge you to hold your questions to after the battles that are on the horizon. Myself and Betsy will begin discussing the viability of such a thing with whoever ends up leading Diamond City, fingers crossed, in a very public forum once the war has been won. So please be patient. And secondly, just a few minutes ago, I got some really weird, potentially horrifying news from a trader who just arrived from Quincy. She has informed me that the power station in Quincy has exploded at some point, and from what she could tell, it was pumping out radiation from a crater at a pace that made her Pip-Boy, in her words, shit itself.
Oh my goodness, what a terrible thing to happen.
There is concerned murmuring from the room, some of it more convincing sounding than others. Zeb stands up and says, "This is really serious. Half of the traders who do their business in the Commonwealth use the road through Quincy. What the hell happened?" John Hancock says, "I have no other information beyond what the trader told me, but I'm inclined to believe her. She recorded what she could on a Pip-Boy that corroborates everything she is saying, and she isn't the type to fuck around. This is real." Dr. Amari speaks up. Without seeing it, and I should point out that this is not particularly my field, but I think this is going to make that route impassable for most people for the next 100 years. Betsy asks, "Could what it's spilling out reach us here?" Amari says, "No. I think we are far enough away. We should do regular checks and maybe send a team to make sure, but I think we will be okay here." The real issue is that it'll probably reach the glowing sea and connect with that, meaning all travel south is going to have to go around the whole glowing sea. Zev speaks up in disbelief. That's going to quadruple the times our runs take. Trading in the Commonwealth is going to take a massive hit.
We'll just hire a bunch of ghouls like us. Or mutants, and we can just go through.
Oh, that's one way around it. That doesn't necessarily help any traders, any human traders who are stuck here. At this point,
we control the trade. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to speak out of turn, boss.
You're all good. Anyone who wants to can do a science intelligence roll, difficulty 3, to see if what Dr. Amari is saying is correct. It's basically a test to see if you know better.
What difficulty did you say?
3. So we got Carl. Ooh.
Did I get a critical hit?
You did.
I did. Success.
And technically you only got 2 successes. Because you got a critical, I think I'm going to give that to you. Because you were basically... You're very close. Yeah, that could be the thing. You kind of get it. even though you are the person who I'd imagine is the least knowledgeable on this kind of thing, but that's the way it went.
All right.
Those in trench coat and not trench coats, lab coats could re-roll.
Yeah. I was
I
just
think
going
if
to
one of us gets it, the rest of us don't need to push it on this occasion.
each scene.
Yeah, I will whisper my realization to everyone.
Oh, but you know what?
I
think
got it
Jade
too.
got it. Okay, so Jade and Carl. Blah, blah, blah. You believe that Dr. Omari is right about it being roughly a century before the core ceases to radiate. This will make an area roughly in a 20-mile radius around Quincy becoming totally inhospitable to almost all organic life, except for mutants and ghouls. It will indeed connect with the glowing sea, which is, if you aren't already aware, the glowing sea is basically where like a whole bunch of nukes landed, and it created a forever glowing nightmare storm to the southwest of Boston. Now that the situation in Quincy is basically extended that across almost the whole passage of the south. So any journey to and from Boston from the south is going to take maybe quadruple the time it did before to go all around it. What would have taken 2 weeks will now take 8 weeks minimum. Jade, you realise at this point that your journey home to Edinburgh is going to take a very, very long time after all of this is cleared up.
Unless we can get some... If I remember correctly, there are chems that either protect or clear up radiation damage.
Yes, the issue being, though, in this case, it would take multiple days, possibly a week, to traverse the whole radioactive area. So it would require an astonishing amount of Rad-X to make it remotely passable, and even then, they probably would still sustain damage and have to regularly use Radaways as well, because Rad-X slows down the radiation. It doesn't entirely stop it.
Okay.
At this point, John Hancock tells everyone to focus on one problem at a time. He promises he will have people with Geiger counters out and regularly checking Goodneighbor and the surrounding area, and will assess the situation as it develops, but now we must plan our war. Can I ask everyone to share what they know? Zeb stands up. Before that, I just want to make clear that I'm only here because Betsy asked me to be here. I'm not adverse entirely to dropping the gun runner's impartiality when it comes to times of war, considering what we're up against, but I need to talk to the rest of my people to decide whether the gun runners break our neutrality policy and join the war. Nick Valentine stands up and says, "Are you serious? How many customers do you think you will get if everyone gets enslaved by the Institute or turned into cyber drones by the Forge?" John Hancock steps in. "Guys, please, Zeb, your point has been noted. Please let us know what your people decide as soon as possible. Now, everyone, time to share any and all information or intel you have when it comes to our enemies." Everyone begins to share their various pieces of information. Knight Maxi reiterates all of his information again. Jade, are you going to tell everyone about the potential backdoor into Diamond City that you discovered at the library?
Yeah, I think that was the whole idea of it.
Cool. So you share what you found. You show them the book that you found. The very, very haughty and angry book you read. Yeah. Eventually, after about half an hour of everyone sharing all the various information, General Isaac steps forward and starts to make a plan. everyone starts to split up into small groups, and she makes her way between all of the groups and manages over a very, very short amount of time to come up with what she writes on a whiteboard just in front of the bar, and it just says, "Operation Fuck Robots." She says, "I want to thank Betsy for the terrible operation name, and thanks to everyone else for failing to come up with something better. Operation Fuck Robots comes in 4 parts. Part 1, Operation Door Knocker. The main body of the Commonwealth United Forces, led by Betsy and John Hancock, will assault Diamond City from the front and the sides. Operation Backdoor Botherers. Knight Maxi will lead a team into the partially built vault under Diamond City, thanks to the intel from Jade. Hopefully this team will infiltrate the city and fuck things up from the inside. Knight Maxi's team will comprise of however many soldiers the Commonwealth United Forces can spare, and a Diamond City resident who has volunteered to assist with local intel, Cassie Gusler." General Isaac steps aside and Dr. Amari addresses everyone. "Now for mine, Operation Surprise," she says. No one moves, no one flinches. She looks a bit crestfallen and then continues. "So, the defenders of the Commonwealth provided me with a tissue sample of a senior 3rd generation synth. I was using this to try and make a portable synth scanner, but deep inside the neck of the sample, I found a small device that I had never seen before. Out of some testing, I learned that it is a teleportation device that I believe is linked to Institute HQ. This is how they've been able to get around. I've managed to boost its power to allow a small number of people to potentially be teleported directly into the Institute itself, right where they live. I will lead a small team and hopefully infiltrate the Institute and seek a way to close them down from the inside. Frank Sullivan will assist me, and Nick Valentine will join us as his synth architecture may be useful." Nick Valentine says, "I think that's a fancy way for saying I'm made of plastic and tubes." General Isaac steps forward. "Thanks, Nick. Yeah." And finally, Operation Kill the Music. Knight Maxi's identified the source of the radio broadcast that we believe the Forge are using to recruit robots. Myself, Augusta, Carl, Jade, and Tumu, never forget Tumu, will make our way to Radio Metaaaal. Is that how you say it? She says to John Hancock. John Hancock says, "I don't know." She says, "All right then, Radio Metaaaal it is." We'll make our way to Radio Metaaaal as quickly as we can and investigate and, if possible, disrupt the robot signal. Once we have done this, we will radio the Commonwealth United Forces and begin scouting and assessing the war in the north between the Institute and the Forge and report what we find so the next stage of the war can be initiated. Speed is of the essence with this one. We have to get in there and kill that broadcast and destroy the Forge's main recruitment tool. Once we get that, their numbers will never grow, potentially. They can only go down. All of these operations will begin at first light tomorrow. Now, players, you have an option here. If you wish, you can donate a companion to assist in any of these other efforts. You can donate someone to assist with the liberating Diamond City, or to assist in taking down the Institute from the inside. Would you like to do this? The people with you may have an impact in how these situations turn out.
I'm wondering if Olivia could go to Diamond City,
I'm willing
because
to
she's
donate
pre-war
General
too.
Isaacs.
People not hearing people again?
I'm just, I heard Kat and then I heard Vincent a little bit. Vincent, what were you saying?
I'm good donating General Isaacs.
Okay, where would you like to place her? Would you like to place her liberating Diamond City or heading into the Institute?
Institute. They're gonna need the firepower in there.
Okay, and Kat, did you say that you were interested in donating Olivia to
Diamond City.
She might be useful there because if she knows anything, she knows how to get around partially built vaults. And they're going to be going into a partially built vault. So after some reorganising, Augusta General Isaacs re-outlines who will be going where. And as she wraps up the finer detail of the 4 operations for various people, John Hancock stands up and says, "We have our plans. We'll get these run out of everyone as fast as possible. You all know your jobs. I'd say go and prepare." Everyone stands and begins to leave the third rail. As you leave the third... Oh, sorry.
We've had donated a complication and 1 bonus.
I will add that to my sheet. Thank you very much, person who did that.
It was our lovely 3-eyed cat.
Thank you very much, cat with 3 eyes. So as you all leave the third rail, the size of what is being planned becomes easier to comprehend, but no less intimidating. Nearly 1,000 people between Goodneighbor and Monofonto Towers are marching off to war. Almost all of them will be fighting on their own home turf. You are the only people whose job it is to walk into an active war zone. On one side, the robots on the forge, strong enough to completely consume the entire Brotherhood of Steel presence and resist their opponents, the powerful and infamously ruthless Institute. They are fighting for their own view of what the Commonwealth should be, and you are walking right into the middle of that war, looking for weak points, giving them a kick. Your mission is to stop their recruiting of robot soldiers by disrupting the signal coming from Radio Metaaaal and investigating the situation up north as best as you can. You'll be the vanguard for the largest war the Commonwealth has seen since the Great War, and the cost of failure is everything. You leave the third rail. Herbie, you accompany Zeb to discuss how the gunrunner should respond. The rest of you are approached outside the third rail by a man formerly known as Stupid Jim. "Hey, so here's my idea for getting to Radio Metaaaal. Can I borrow your Pip-Boy for a second, Augusta?"
Yeah, sure. And I'll take it off, hand it to him.
This Jim appears very different to the one you knew only a few hours before. Augusta, he readily grabs the Pip-Boy you hand to him and pulls up the map of the. Pulls up a map of the area. Can everyone look at roll 20, please? So this should reflect for you. He says, "So, when I left the Sisterhood, I booked it south and I made it to this bridge here. Why won't it ping? There we go. Unfortunately, when I got to that bridge, there was no way I was going to cross. There were fiends having a bit of a party on the bridge, and I didn't fancy getting eaten. So I walked around for a while, and I found a manhole cover. I lifted it up and fell down. I then spent the next 7 days in the dark, wandering around the sewers, until eventually I found myself coming up through a manhole cover here. As a result, I think I have a pretty good idea on where all the sewers in that area lead and go. So I think I'll be able to get you from the manhole cover I came up through to Radio Metaaaal very quickly. The downside of this plan, though, is that we're going to have to sneak past Fort Zero Dark, which is where the gunners live. Those dicks that we dealt with in Quincy. So, Yeah, that's
Is
the
it
downside.
at all possible their numbers are a little bit depleted because of what we did in Quincy?
What did you do in Quincy?
We repelled an incoming force.
That's not how I remember it.
Well, you were there. I mean, we all left, and then we left a thing for the people that were coming.
What did you leave for them? I should remind you at this point that the Jim had left.
Yeah, I remember. I'm just trying to pad around it and hope that he didn't ask the thing that he's asking about.
Fair enough. Well, I think that's how I can help you. I can help you get to Radio Metaaaal very quickly. I mean, it's better than the alternative you were talking about. As a reminder, the other alternative was to head to Maniover Docks here and grab a boat. Now, the upside to that plan is that it would probably not involve sneaking past 40 Dark. The downside is that it will probably take you many hours to traverse the river all the way around to Radio Metaaaal.
Which way is the river flowing? It's flowing round and out, isn't it? Towards the sea, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Well, if we got in a boat at the docks, then just sat on the river until we got round to there anyway. Then we'd skip the fort.
I think a trek through the sewer will be fun.
Oh,
I'm not there. Never mind. Shh.
So I guess the decision is going to be made by Augusta, Carl, and Jade. Do you go for the boat plan, which will almost certainly take you longer? Assuming
I mean, time is of the essence. If that's a really quick way, if we can get past the fort.
Yeah, or the risky but fast way with Jim.
I'm leaning towards sneaking past the fort, actually, because on a boat on this river, we are going to be very exposed. There's no hiding on the river.
Well, my next suggestion had been to try and do it at night time, but then we wouldn't be able to see either, so we wouldn't be able to avoid obstacles like rocks or whatever other crap is in the river.
Yeah. Mire lurks, if nothing else.
One reminder, I don't know if you guys remember the gunner's note in the gunner patch. Just to keep possible ideas in mind.
That is right. We do have a gunner patch for good behavior, essentially. Yeah. Past the fort is probably the best option. I'm not convinced it's going to take longer since we're detouring up north and then going around the river back south to Radio Metaaaal. But we do have the option of not being seen doing that.
I suppose the worry of crossing at the docks would be that if we get seen at that point, they'll be trailing us all the way to the radio station.
Yeah.
And if we manage to go without being seen, we'll have an easier time.
Exactly. So fast and stealthy is what we should be looking for, I think.
Okay, if you all agree with that, then I'm going to take it that you tell Jim that you're going to be following him into the sewer.
Yes.
Please don't make me regret this, Jim.
Well, if there was one thing from before that I have realised now, is that I was storing all of the things I was learning. I was just finding it harder to access them. I think I know that area like the back of my hand. And at that point he starts to incredibly, with great accuracy and at great length, describe the back of his hands until one of you stops him.
Thank you, Jim. Like, you put your trust in us earlier, and we're putting our trust in you now. So
Fair enough.
I hope this goes well.
In that case, I need to go and see Cassie alone for a very long time. Excuse me. He runs off into the crowd, shouting, Cassie! Cassie! We need to do it. We need to do it a lot. Now we're going to jump to Herbie. Herbie, you have been called to an impromptu meeting amongst the gun runners. You are all sat around the big stacks of weapons and ammo that you have all been dragging into Goodneighbor all day. Around you is the sights and sounds of a new army. There are some people who are having the best time of their lives, some people are there shooting a target, and some people are just crying alone out of pure fear. A fist fight breaks out and is quickly kept apart from each other. It's basically what you would imagine the night before a major military action would look like with a mostly civilian army.
Okay.
The gun runners have, to give you some history, the gun runners have remained impartial during every conflict because if they remain impartial, that means more customers. And they have remained impartial during every major conflict, East Coast and West Coast, since the bombs fell. But Zeb points out that there's not going to be many customers if everyone gets rolled over and abused and destroyed by the Institute and or the Forge. So Zeb proposes joining the war and assisting with the plan that has been agreed. But he also says he doesn't feel that he can make the decision entirely on his own as the leader. So he calls for a vote. And people raise their hands for yes, join the war, and no, for maintain your independence. How does Herbie vote?
Herbie's going to bring up the fact that, well, since I am not per se a gunner, but just one of your hires, you can hire me and just send me off with them, and that way, some of them. You probably do that with a few others and still maintain the appearance of neutrality. Just hire us back when we're done.
Okay. I see that. We got to maintain that we are independent, but we can just all be independent contractors, out of contract for the duration. I like that. I
did learn something bookkeeping in the army. That's how we would get our extra supplies. You know, Miss Decimal here or something.
All right, let's do a new vote. Those who are in favour of Herbie's plan of temporarily going out of contract with the gun runners and joining the war, raise your hands. Those who insist on remaining under contract with the gun runners and not joining the war, raise your hands. How does Herbie vote? I mean, it's obvious you're going to vote for your thing, aren't you?
Yeah. Let's blow shit up.
You voted to join the fight. The final vote was 14 for remaining independent, 15 for temporarily going off contract and joining the fight. Zeb says, well, that's that. Let's not fuck around. Alright. You lot there, you lot are joining the assault on Diamond City. You two, you're going to help assist with infiltrating Diamond City from the back. You lot, you're joining the group heading into the Institute, so you should go and report to Dr. Amari right now. Herbie, I need a word with you alone. Any questions, everyone? Some of the people who didn't get what they wanted for start grumbling. Others look relieved. but they all go off and start their preparations. Zeb turns to you, Herbie, and says, "Herbie, do you mind helping with this?" He points to a bunch of loose bullets and a bunch of empty bullet containers. He sits down and starts sorting bullets into the right containers. Do you join him?
Yep, he'll start going through it. Every once in a while, setting a 5mm aside for the job.
So, Herbie, I know you're an independent contractor, but you're one of my best men. And for that reason, I want you to go with the group hitting Radio Metaaaal. If there's one thing that those people are lacking, is heavy firepower. And you're the best I got at that. They're walking into a robotic war zone. They're going to need a lot of help from you.
Not a problem. Sounds like they're going to probably have some good fun there and get to blow up a tower or a radio tower. So at least I'm hoping to. They had some nice toys on that Brahmin too. You see those missiles they had? Whew. Looking forward to trying that. I could probably take them out from this side of the river if you give me a chance and enough missiles.
I don't understand how you always seem to be so upbeat, Herbie. Like, the wasteland is the wasteland, and especially now, the night before all of this.
Well, let me tell you, I was supposed to be dead 200 years ago. Why not make happy moments with what you have? And do what you enjoy. I like making big things into little small things.
Fair enough. What's your story, Herbie? I mean, we're going to war tomorrow. We could both die. I think now's as good a time as any for me to, actually ask a personal question of you.
Well, you got anything to drink, and we can count and drink, and I'll let you know.
Of course I have something to drink. He pulls out a bottle of rot gut rum, places it, opens it up and takes a swig and hands it to you.
Takes a big pull on it, and good stuff. Well, I started out stationed out in Utah back when Utah was Utah, back before the war. Then the bombs hit. Ended up joining the NCR out west and worked for them for probably about 100 years, on and off. Did both wars. I mean, you heard of the Hoover Dam, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was 2 incidents and battles out there, was involved with both. Just kind of moved along after that. Ended up with the gunners out there and worked my way over this way to see what happened out on this coast after a couple 100 years. And as you know, I've only been here about maybe 5 years. I mean, if you want to hear some interesting stories, you tell you about some of the places out there. New Vegas is kind of interesting.
Oh, I know New Vegas. I come from California, so, Nevada, that was my old stomping ground.
Huh. Well, not much changed out there. Maybe a few things. Some death claws, less of them now than there used to be, maybe.
After all this is done, do you think you're going to go back?
I don't know. Let's see what happens. I mean, I'm finding it interesting. And like I said, I should have died 200 years ago. And pretty soon, or eventually here, I'm going to go feral, so I hope to die before that.
That's pretty grim.
Well, think of the outcomes I have.
Well,
but let's try to do something good while I'm here, at least.
You're a good guy, Herbie. Now I feel incredibly responsible for putting you in the middle of a horrible war zone. So, here's what I'm going to do.
Be fun. I'm not worried. War's been my life. It never fucking changes.
No, it does not. Well,
this time we ain't gonna have China dropping bombs on you from half the other side of the earth.
I guess that's one thing we've got over the people who lived lived before the war. All right, Give me a minigun.
He's a little hesitant. You know this is my favorite gun.
I know.
All right.
Trust me.
I trust you, Zeb.
Even though you say this is all going to be fun, I do feel responsible for putting you in the middle of a shitty situation. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to work on your minigun and get it all tip-top and working amazingly. What do you say to that?
How much?
This is on me.
Oh, then hell yeah. Give me the works.
All right. So I'm going to stick a sight on it so you can aim easier. Now,
You just have to get close with this thing. You know that.
well, there's a few options. I could make it fire all 3 barrels at once instead of doing it staggered like it is. That would mean you do more damage firing less bullets, but it would fire them slower. Or I could make its bullets faster, causing some more damage, but as it is firing them faster, it means it won't do as well over long distances, but will shred anything in front of you. Or I could just toss those ideas out. I can add a shredder on the end. Give you a big old knife so you can start slicing up anyone who gets too close.
Oh, I'm not real good with when they get up close. I'd rather just shoot them.
Alright, so would you rather make a lot more damage for less bullets with less fired, or would you rather add some more damage and fire more bullets over shorter distances?
The first option, because I also have abilities that raise my rate of fire. So,
Alright. Zeb gets to work on modifying your gun, and Michelle is going to get to work editing some things on your character sheet.
dun dun dun. You guys disappeared. Toys. And over the conversation, I'm going to be asking for plastique if he has any, or dynamite, willing to buy all that.
When it comes to shopping, do that over the next 2 weeks. So after this, I'll send you all the lists. After several minutes of him clanging and smacking and doing his various things, there we go. Big guns, tri-barrel, iron sight. Done. He hands you your minigun. It has now been modded. And as you can see from the stats, essentially, you have slightly less fire rate than you did before, but your damage on it has increased by 2. So yeah, delete your old minigun, and that's your new minigun. You can name it whatever you like. He hands you the minigun with new shiny things on it, including an iron sight, which makes it easier to aim, and generally more damage for less bullets. He also hands you 500 rounds of 5mm ammunition and says,
Oh. Kirby smiles at that. We can put holes in a lot of stuff.
make sure you put a lot of holes in the very, very bad things that are coming to kill us all.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also,
I'll be asking what. Go ahead.
he then hands you a radio and says, use this to keep in touch.
Okay, he stuffs it in his jacket.
With that, you now have a direct line of communication with Zeb and other gunners on this channel.
All right. I will mark that down.
Now, why don't you tell me some stories from out west? Let's see if I got anything that can compete. And you spend
Michelle,
the next
I don't-
few... Sorry?
Did you get Vincent in again?
I was just saying, oh, sounds good.
Did you get?
Vincent's in, isn't he?
He's there. I see him.
But
Yeah.
he wrote. You froze for a moment, and he can't hear any
Okay.
of us.
What if I...
Oh, now I can't hear Cat. I'll go out and come back in again.
Okay.
Video Ninja's clearly being weird tonight.
Yeah, just a bit. I mean, I'm not solving any of these problems.
That was what I was trying to say for
Cat's
a moment
talking.
ago.
Is she muted or unmuted? Okay, then I'm not
Vincent.
hearing her either.
Vincent, can you hear?
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear everyone, I thought.
Okay.
Don't know who can hear me.
Well, I can't hear.
I hear you.
I hear you. I don't hear Jade. I don't hear Carl. I'll be back myself, I guess.
Okay, everyone log in and come back and we'll sort it out. Vincent, can you hear me now?
I don't think Vincent is hearing us by typing in Discord.
I did. I told him to refresh and come back. Lavaita,
I
no,
can't hear
I can't
Augusta
hear
now.
you now. Now you did come back.
Not me either. But
I
I hear
hear you.
Tim and Michelle.
Okay. I hear you now. Oh, isn't this fun? People out in live world?
Yeah, the three of us can hear each other. That's the most important, right?
All right. Do we got voices?
Oh, excellent.
All right.
And we can hear you.
We can hear you.
I will get you back in so everybody else can hear you, Vincent. Vincent's back, and all of that seems to have been fixed.
Yeah.
D.
We kept all trying to talk to you guys, and nobody was listening. At least I wasn't.
Audio. D. Okay, Vincent, you are now back on Twitch. And just in time, because you have a scene. And now Thea, add her back in, and then we're good to go. Oh.
All right.
Thea, can you talk?
Maybe?
No voices.
Like-
Make sure it's.
Thea,
I hear Lavaita.
For some
Thea's
reason,
angry.
we can't hear you. I'm going to move on and just do the next scene. You're not in, so try and get things fixed. You're not. You got time. It'll be all right. So, Herbie and Zeb spend the next few hours drinking and sorting through ammunition, sharing old stories from out west. Meanwhile, we'll cut to Carl. Carl, you are sat in a place away from people with Sniff. You are sorting through your arrows. You are seeing to Sniff, making sure that Sniff gets fed. You are making preparations for the war to come and your place in it.
Mm-hmm.
And as you are going through your supplies, you stumble across that weird bow you found at General Atomics. Would you be interested in taking a closer look at it right now?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. First, give me a survival intelligence check.
Survival intelligence. Just a second.
Excellent. And next, give me a throwing intelligence check.
I throw real smart. I throw really smart.
You blew that right out of the water.
Oh shit.
So
4 successes if stream is wondering.
Yep. Maximum possible on 2 dice.
you examine the bow, and it is fascinating. On either end, it used to have... The best word you'd have for what they used to have there are wheels. And these wheels and the complicated way that the string was tied around them would propel the arrows much harder, further and faster than any other bow you've ever seen in your life. It uses a particularly complicated string system that you have successfully managed to work out. You can now create compound bows. Essentially, it's equivalent of having the blueprint of this, so you can make them. There is a weapons workbench available to you that has been set up by Zeb. As Zeb and Herbie are drinking, they make it clear to you with a hand wave and a go for it that you can use the weapons bench. With your, if you wanted to construct a compound bow right now, you can do so. No dice rolls required. There is a material cost that would be your current longbow, 11 common materials, 7 uncommon materials, and 2 rare materials. Would you like to construct your new bow using the materials that you've collected that are sitting there on Tumu?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. You get to work. You gather the supplies and you hold up the bow, the rusted away piece of shit bow, and you, over the course of several hours, construct and perfect a compound bow. Now I'm just going to do some messing around on your sheet, renaming a thing. It's a lot easier than Tim's one, so don't worry.
Oh, you're telling me this bow is not called Do Not Look Here, Vincent, for permanently?
No, in fact, you can name it anything in your life. I've just changed it to compound bow. And is it in your gear? Weapons. Oh, well, just rename the one in your gear to... Just rename the one in your gear to compound bow, the long bow, and that's done. So you now have a compound bow. And whilst you're constructing that, you have a few materials left over. So you make another 50 arrows at the same time. For free.
Yeah, I absolutely do.
You look at the bow you have finished, and how do you feel? How do you feel about it?
Pretty good. I'm gonna go upstairs and do a few practice shots with it.
Upstairs, as in, where are you going? You're going,
Yeah, like outside.
Oh, fair enough.
Reasonably deserted part of town, so I don't shoot anyone by accident.
Okay, I'm going to say that you climb up on one of the security gangways, and you start doing some light target practice, aiming out of Goodneighbor. You hear a very familiar voice behind you. That new bow, did you just make that? It's General Isaac's.
Yes, I did. Based it on the broken one we found in the factory.
I've never seen anything like that before in my life. But it's got... Are those wheels?
Yes. I think this could be the basis for a very powerful Wasteland Rangers corps to replace the Minutemen.
You know, after all this is done, you've got to teach me how to use one of these things. I've seen you do it, and you... I don't know, you're like some kind of death ghost?
Something like that.
She lights a cigarette and says, "Oh yeah, Hancock told me to give this to you." She hands you a radio.
I take it.
He says to use this to report in once you have secured Radio Metaaaal and also to use it to report in the state of the war zone. As of now, this is me talking, as of now, you have a radio that you can use to directly contact John Hancock as well as others on the same radio frequency.
Cool.
So are you ready for tomorrow?
Ready as I'll ever be.
You know, after all this, I think we should stick around Goodneighbor and Monofonto. They're possibly about to start a proper provincial Commonwealth government.
Yeah, that does seem like a good idea.
Yeah, I mean,
I've been thinking about heading with the others over to Edinburgh and check that place out. But that's going to be a fraught journey now with the power station blown up. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the way I see it. All of the goodwill that I have with these people when it comes to the Minutemen, and all the goodwill you're about to generate by being essentially the lead scout in enemy territory, mapping the situation and reporting back, you're going to have a massive impact on what's to come. And with that, we could definitely get a seat at the table for any discussions on how this government's going to work, and maybe set up our rangers as the peacekeepers.
We really can. Make sure it goes in a good direction.
Exactly. I'm so glad you're on the same page as me. I'm so glad. Like, I've been looking for meaning and purpose ever since everything went down in Quincy, and I'm astonished at how quickly I found it again. Thank you, Carl.
You're welcome.
With that, you continue practicing, and General Isaacs continues to sit there and smoke endless cigarettes, as is her habit before big war. Now we're going to cut to Jade. Jade, you are walking away from the strategy meet, and you hear a voice coming from your bag. Jade! Jade!
I don't know if she can hear. Oh, she does.
Yeah, get me out your bag.
And Jade will go back to the laboratory.
Cool. As you return to the laboratory and lift Harold out of your bag, he says, "Well, from what I could hear from the meeting, it all sounds like it's all kicking off."
Yeah, sounds a lot like that.
Well, I was thinking, if we're going to war tomorrow, tonight might be your last chance to look at me noggin under a microscope like you've been talking about. You want to go and examine my head? Because many have tried.
Let's go find out what you are.
So you instinctively went to Dr. Amari's laboratory. You walk past her on the way in and just say, "Can I use your lab?" Dr. Amari is there drinking and looking in the middle distance, clearly worried about something. Can't imagine what. But she says, "Sure," and you go into the laboratory. And this is a fairly well-equipped place for examining and working on heads and biological matter, of which Harold is both. So the first thing that you would probably want to do is examine a sample of Harold's DNA. I will leave up to you how you get Harold's DNA.
Machete.
I mean, is he like...
He's a head in a plant pot. He's a head in a plant pot.
Yeah, so it's not like... Yeah. So not he is still more human than tree or plant or something like that.
Well, you're not exactly sure. I remember you didn't get the best roll you could when identifying what Harold is. All you got was that he isn't a ghoul, even though he looks kind of like a ghoul. But he is also significantly a lot of plant, because he is a head growing out of a plant.
Okay.
He's grown from a root.
Have I actually had him out of the pot?
No.
I think I would actually start there, like, trying to at least take the dirt away, like, look what's underneath.
Okay.
See what it actually came from.
You start to pull Harold's head out of the pot, and he immediately goes, stop! My roots! Jade, what are you doing?
I was doing it carefully, and I would probably have asked for permission. Like, can I go into the pot? Like,
You push your hands into the pot through the soil, and you just feel roots.
can you feel it? Tickle, tickle, tickle.
Jade, I don't know if this will translate, because I know that super mutants don't have genitals, but what you're doing is the equivalent of messing with my bits. If you wanted some DNA, you could just ask me to spit or something.
I apologize. So he throws his finger up and, like, soil back. And does he have hair?
No. The only thing that you've noticed that he has DNA-wise is when he's coughing and stuff, he is phlegming everywhere. So you might be able to get his DNA from his spit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Definitely, I mean, we can start with that. Probably do some, like, surface scraping, not like cutting, but, you know, when you scrape a knife over skin, you can take off like surface.
Okay, so you run a knife across, I'm going to say that you run it across like his cheek, and a little bit of leafy flesh falls off onto your little sample glass. Now, you take the sample and you stick it under a microscope and you have a look. Can you give me an intelligence science or an intelligence medicine check, please? Whichever one you prefer.
That is 2 successes. Is that enough? Or will I get more out of trying to get one more?
I think you got basically the most you could maybe get with a rolling a 1.
You muted me, show.
Oh, wait. Whoops. You've got the most that you could probably get from that because you rolled a 1. And the difficulty, which I didn't tell you, was 1. So you have more than surpassed that to the point where you have you've got help with your next roll. So, as you look through the microscope, you very quickly see in the DNA strands the following letters and numbers. FEV 1.0. You very quickly deduce that Harold was infected with the prime FEV.
Holy shit.
As you are well aware, once this original FEV was used during the rise of the super mutants 120 years ago on the west coast, this original FEV once it was out there in the world, mutated, split in half, merged back together 100 times in each different direction, and developed into what you have theorized is potentially hundreds of different variants throughout what was once known as America, which is why Washington DC mutants are slightly different to the mutants in the Commonwealth, which are slightly different to the mutants you would find on the West Coast. You have in your hands a DNA sample swimming in the first version of the FEV. This is a very significant find. You zoom out on the microscope and see what appears to be capids, a small shell that houses a virus's DNA. You realise that you could probably extract one of these capids from this DNA sample and have enough, potentially, to recreate the full FEV 1.0 from 120 years before, with the equipment you have available. To do so, that would have required a difficulty 3 check,
And
succeeding,
by
that has been reduced to DC 2. Thanks to you
Probably.
rolling exceptionally well on your first one. So give me an intelligence, science, or medicine roll, difficulty 2.
What check? Oh my god.
Okay. Jade just vanished entirely from the game. Why? What is going on with Video Ninja tonight?
He ate the plant and went on a trip.
Are you returning, Cat? You know, we'll return to Jade later. I know where we're up to on Jade, so we'll return to him later. We're going to cut to Augusta, rather. Lavaita?
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. I can hear you.
Hello. Fantastic.
So, Augusta, you are sat in a relatively quiet spot. How are you feeling?
Probably thoughtful, I think. And just, we only came out for a board, and now all this. So I just want to get some milk, and then a war broke out.
I can imagine that's what you're thinking. At this point, you're approached by Knight Maxi, or as he would rather be called now, Max.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Augusta. I was told that you have some power armor that you aren't using.
Do you know, I think we do need to get rid of it, because I don't think we're using it properly. Are you interested?
Can I borrow it? Oh, hey, Kat. I see you're back. We just moved on to Augusta whilst you were away, so going to come back to you after we've done this and continue where we left off with you.
There's Michelle. Yep.
Max says, well, I know how to use it, and with where I'm going, it'll help.
Oh, definitely.
I'll return it after.
You better.
Thank you. So, you lot are heading for the signal.
That's the plan.
Wondering, would you be interested in putting our brains together on that? Because, yeah, you've got a reputation for being pretty scientifically minded.
I have my moments, but I feel like I've just been lucky over and over again, to be honest.
You seem to have a bit of an issue with the self-talk thing.
The self-talk thing?
You know, you don't seem to be talking about yourself in a very positive way.
You know I'm from a vault, right?
I mean, I could guess.
The whole thing with the vault I was in was to try and train like super soldiers and super scientists, and then we came out into this.
And I guess I didn't turn out how you wanted.
Well, none of it was what we expected, and it was just a weird time. And then almost immediately thrown into trying to get the GEC and all of that, and yeah, it's been a weird few years. Like you spend your whole life thinking it's going to be one way, and then nothing, and then suddenly it's completely different.
I can definitely relate to that.
I bet you can.
I used to believe that the world was so simple. There was us, and there was everyone else. And we deserved everything. We deserved all the tech we could find. We couldn't leave it in the hands of lesser people. Turned out, we were the lessers. I did some...
No one's lesser.
No, we really were. You don't know the stuff I've done to people just to get my hands on a toaster or a Pip-Boy or some shiny weapon. Well, here's the life taking you to unexpected places.
Agreed.
Yeah. You're sort of the computer one of your group, right?
Yeah, in a world with very few computers left.
Well, you're heading somewhere where you're probably going to be very, very useful. You ever thought about trying to work out if you could rewrite the message that broadcasts?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I
What
certainly
did you
have.
come up with? Did you manage to figure anything out?
I think I'll have to see what it is when I get there. And I might need to talk to a couple of people before we leave about what the rewritten message might be. But then there's the ethics of that. Someone's done this. Someone's taken all those robots and brought them north to be power against us, someone. Am I the right person to just rewrite that and take all of that and do something else with it? Or would it be better to let them go back to what they were doing?
I don't know. That's assuming you can even do it.
Yes, it's making a lot of assumptions, definitely. But it's like, I don't need to worry about turning off the code. That's the obvious thing to do. But if I'm going to wield that, I have to live with what we choose to do with after that.
All right. Well, look, let's just give it a listen. See if we can figure something out. We can figure something out.
Yeah.
He turns on his Pip-Boy radio and tunes into the broadcast that is still going. You both listen to it, and because you're both listening to it, yeah. Give me a science intelligence roll, difficulty 2. Oh. Amazing success. You're all rolling ones this evening. This is incredibly good rolling. Well done. So, you listen to the broadcast with Max. You hear the familiar series of beeps, what sounds like distortion, various different sounds that make very little sense to your human ear. And you realise that the thing that the robots have that you are missing is a way to convert this audio into code, into a script, a program.
Bet my Pip-Boy could do it.
You realise that with a little tinkering of your Pip-Boy, you could maybe auto-convert the signal into raw code. From there, depending on what coding language it is written in, you could theoretically rewrite the code. To convert the audio broadcast into raw code, you would need to create a script on your Pip-Boy that will do the conversion. Do you want to make the attempt?
Yeah, and if it's not ASCII, I'll eat a piece of clothing.
Give me a science intelligence check.
I've broken it. Can I use an action point?
Yeah, go for it.
Actually, that's not going to help, is it? It'll only give me 1 at most, but...
You also have your jacket.
I do have my jacket. That's a very...
Yes, that's essentially a reroll. An entire reroll.
Okay.
Well, I'll do an entire reroll. I got a 1 and a 2.
Okay, another 1. I think this is rigged, but all right, we'll go for it.
It's not, because I failed the last one.
The script you have written, you believe, works perfectly. You set it up to immediately start to listen and convert the audio signal. After several minutes, you view the text file it is outputted, and you view the code. It is unlike any programming language you have ever seen in your life, and you have studied most of them. The more you read, the more confused you are. Any attempt to change this code right now would be blind guessing and would probably result in nothing happening on the receiving end at all. But August, you have grown up being trained to do 2 things: infiltrate and hack shit. Those are the reason for your existence. You read the code again and suddenly you see something. A vague pattern, just vaguely out of sight. This will take you time to crack. You can now roll a science intelligence test with a difficulty of 5, and you cannot use action points for this roll. This is to see if you can make out the basic structure of the code and language right now. After this, you got 3 successes. Just 2 short.
And a crit.
Yeah. With that crit and with the other crit, I'm going to say you realise that you can maybe break this code down in your head. If you could look at it every day, you could probably get the hang of it within a week. You can now make this check once a day, and every subsequent day the difficulty will go down by 1. At that point, after all of this, Max says, well, I don't understand a lot of what you just did, but it looks like you did something.
We got something to work with.
Well, there we go. You with your negative talk. You appear to be some kind of genius. At that point, Olivia approaches you. She's looking very nervous, and she's clearly holding things behind her back. So, Augusta, she says, I know you couldn't find your pistol earlier. That's because I took it.
Why did you take it?
I took it because I've seen you really struggle in gunfights. And I want.
You're not wrong.
And I wanted to help, so she pulls out 2 weapons from behind her back. Your 44 pistol, which has now been heavily modified, and an assault rifle. She says, so here's your 44. I had Zeb change out the barrel, the handle, add a sight. It's almost a totally different gun at this point, but, you know, it's something... But yeah, and here's, referring to the assault rifle, here's something I had Zeb knock up special. An assault rifle.
I mean, thanks for this gunner thesis, but okay.
Yeah. It's, well, yeah, you're welcome. She looks down at the floor. Yeah, I was thinking maybe you could use an assault rifle because that means that you shoot more bullets at a time, so you've got more chances to hit things.
I can't deny the maths.
And, here's a bunch of ammo. She removes 2 ammunition containers from her bag. These contain 120 rounds of ammo for the Magnum and 240 rounds of 5.56 ammo for your assault rifle.
This here ain't nothing. Thank you very much.
I was just walking around and I was offering some of my old romance novels that I read hundreds of times in the vault over and over again. I offered them to Zeb, and he got a bit desperate, really, to have them all. He gave me really good rates. I'm quite astonished. He didn't seem the type.
Everyone's going to get through this somehow, right?
Yeah. look, I can't apologise enough for what I did to you. But I hope these help you. Like,
They do. And look, it wasn't entirely on you. Yeah, you did have a bloody stupid plan, but you didn't carry it out. It was somebody from Voltec who decided to actually do it.
I appreciate that, but I know what I did. I'm not going to do it again.
It wouldn't have worked anyway. We got out into the wasteland and half of the super soldiers you'd created died from colds and radiation poisoning.
Olivia starts to cry. I didn't know that.
We didn't think anyone would do it, right? It would be a damn stupid thing to do. Someone would look at that and go, no, they've been in a vault all their lives. They won't have any immunity to anything.
When you say that, it seems so obvious. Why didn't we think of that?
Yeah, well, if there's one thing we've learned in the last 100 years, it's very easy to be wise after the event, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, anyway, there's a chance we may never see each other again after tonight. I'm going in to help the fight in Diamond City. But if we both make it through this, can I get you a drink at the third rail?
You know what? I'd like that. And we can talk as people rather than philosophical concepts.
I'd like that. Thank you, Augusta.
Thank you, Olivia.
With that, she walks away. Max says to you, well, that's a conversation that has some history behind it.
Yeah, we can get blind drunk after all this is done, and I'll tell you all about it if you want.
I'll hold you to it. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Do you want some pointers on how to use these things?
Oh, yes. If you can train me, that'd be great. Because there wasn't a lot of space for that kind of thing in the vault.
All right, well, let's get you set up. We'll leave you there, Augusta and Max. August, you are going to be shooting out away from Goodneighbor on the wall, not too far away from where Carl is trying out his new bow. And Max gives you some pointers to the point where you can increase your small guns by 1 skill. These boons I'm giving you may seem fairly uneven. I did the maths on this stuff. The value of all these boons are roughly the same, give or take. I hope you trust me with that. But anyway, we'll cut back to Jade, who has returned. Kat, is your audio all good? Are you ready to go?
Maybe?
Well, I heard that, so let's go for it. So where were we up to?
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you realise that you can extract a capid, which is essentially a cell of the virus. It is a capid is the casing, and inside is all of the juicy DNA of the FEV virus. You believe that you would be able to extract 1 capid from the flesh you have taken from Harold's face. Would you like to make the attempt?
I don't know if it's the right time or if it would be better to wait until we are back in Edinburgh, but it's definitely tempting, but I don't think he can't wait. So yeah, he will try.
Okay. This is going to take a intelligence science check this time.
And now I don't hear Michelle.
How can you not hear? Oh, I'm on mute, that's why. Okay, that's going to take a intelligence science check this time, not a medicine check, an intelligence science, DC 2, difficulty 2. For anybody else, it would be a 3 or even a 4, but this is something you have done a lot over the last 100 years. Ah. Another one. Another critical success. So, you successfully...
Told you the tick pixies are real.
You successfully remove the capid from Harold's flesh, and you have placed it in a petri dish that you immediately put into one of Dr. Amari's fancy machines to incubate it. And before long, within 20 minutes, you have a full sample of the first FEV virus. With what you have, you know that you could maybe... You have definitely shed off a number of years it would take for you to research and come up with a cure for all the things you're seeking to cure on your own. You would maybe be able to get a cure together with what you have now, including all the other research, within 5 years. Deep inside the caper that you withdrew, as you see it brewing and becoming a full strain of the virus, you see that the origins was Westtech. This is something you knew already. But you start to believe that maybe if you head to a Westtech facility of some kind, if you were lucky enough to stumble across one, maybe you'll be able to get the time it would take for you to get your cure even shorter. And because you were such a... Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Yeah. This will usually take another roll, but you just roll a 1, so I'm going to say this is for you. You also realise that now that you have a copy of the first FEV virus, you could maybe repair something. There may not even need repairing, that'll be depending on how you see it, but you have been mocked a lot in your life whilst you were in the vault for being shorter and smarter than the other mutants. You believe that you could maybe undo that and fill in the gaps your version of the FEV left you with. You believe that you could potentially infuse your DNA into another part of the virus and infect yourself, and for maybe around 30 hours whilst it takes root and rewrites your DNA, it would make you weaker. But after that 30 hours, you would return and become a lot physically stronger. Would you like to attempt to make this virus and infect yourself with it?
Nope.
Fair enough. Harold...
That is not his goal.
As you were doing all of this work, Harold is talking to you and says, "So how'd you get into looking at people's juices to find cures for stuff?"
Someone I cared very much about got taken away from me from this experiment because it wasn't completed as it should be.
Are you looking to rewrite the wrongs of the past in the present?
I want others not to face the same.
That's pretty noble. That's a very noble endeavour. Has it occurred to you that maybe some folks don't want to be cured?
Yes, after or the time we have been traveling, at least, they don't always want to be cured. The thing is that they didn't want to be this way before either.
Wow.
The most of them, they have forgotten what they were before.
Oh, yeah, that's true with the mutants, for sure. But I remember what I was before. I was a man, like a human man with smooth skin, and what would have been a short life expectancy. But, you know, Now I'm over 200 years old. And I live in a plant pot. And I don't think I'd change a thing. Except that time when you started playing with my roots. That was weird. That was really uncomfortable. Never do that again.
Again, I apologize for that.
It's okay, you
Don't
weren't
worry,
to
I
know.
won't.
I wasn't to know until you did it. I haven't had anyone touch my downstairs bits in fucking decades. At that point, he starts to laugh and starts to tell you various old stories of his former conquests in his previous life as a trader operating outside shady stands in California. And with that, you all turn into bed. You will arrive at the State House where you've been sleeping these last few days in Goodneighbor. You enter and you see the junkie pile, your familiar sight. It is now different in that the junkie pile is also including all the different kinds of weapons that are available to humanity, has distributed to them by Zeb throughout the day. The junkie pile has become a lot less safe than it already was. There are people there with like axes and sledgehammers and shotguns just sticking out and all over the place. You all go to sleep. Eventually. Some wake up in the night. You're all feeling pretty nervous. And yep, you made your choice. So you're working the following day, just before dawn. The junkie pile has gone. You gather your things and head outside. The streets are filled with all of the people. Soldiers are standing to attention. Beatrix is there, making sure everyone has got a good meal before they leave. Professor Doctor and Dr. Malibu are standing next to their newly constructed mobile hospitals. And you see Jim and Cassie holding each other's hands, just enjoying their last moments together. Before Jim sees you, gives her a last kiss and joins you, having just taken his medication. He asks you, Jade, to make sure that he remembers to take it every day, and he has about a week's supply. Augusta, you see Olivia making her own preparations. Olivia nods to you. Herbie, you see Seb strapping up a flamer and a minigun onto his back. He always liked the choice. He smiles at you and holds up his fist. Carl, you are organising your kit next to General Isaacs, who pulls her backpack onto her back and says to you, "Let's fucking do this." She offers you a hand that you shake, and she heads off to join with the people she'll be going with up the backside of Diamond City. Oh, did you say Diamond City, or did you say that she was going to go to the Institute? Institute. Right, that's in my brain now. I won't forget that again. Herbie, you have joined Jade, Carl, and Augusta. You are ready to go, and at that point, a man approaches you as a group. "Hi, I'm Captain Eliath. We have been assigned to assist you in your mission." He points and refers to 20 soldiers that are standing behind him, all standing to attention. "These are my people. I've trained them adequately. We will follow you until the end."
Looking over at these soldiers, using the term loosely, what are we seeing?
You are seeing 20 men and women, half of whom look like they come from Monofonto Towers and look potentially dangerous. The other half looking like they come from Goodneighbor. And you recognise some of them who were, up until very recently, in the junkie pile.
I sigh heavily.
Can these soldiers be stealthy?
Well, Captain Eliath says, they can be quiet.
Well, we can work from there.
Yeah, it'll be fine. So, ready to go when you are. And he salutes you all. So how this is going to work is, this isn't like these are going to be a companion of yours. Essentially, every round in combat, you can issue a command to Captain Eliath for free, and he will try to get his troops to follow them, as close as and as best he can. Not always successfully. Very much depends on a bunch of rolls I'll be doing, but that is essentially how they'll work. So you don't need to worry about the character sheets or monitoring them or any of that. I've got that covered. You just basically, once a round, issue a command, and they'll try and do it. But these are
And I
not...
want to make sure Miss Nanny's okay before we go as well, because we're going to need her.
Yep. Miss Nanny is there playing football with a bunch of soldiers. She has been garnished with a black and white top and is serving as the referee as you approach. She turns to you and says, "Ah, honey bunny, it's good to see you this morning. Are you ready
Good
to play?"
see you too. Oh, we've got some work to do. I think you might need to come with us.
Okay. Well, they've made me the referee, so you know what that means. And she
Deathmatch.
She pulls out a whistle and attempts to blow it, but she's a robot, so she can't. So she just starts hitting against her and saying, "Whistle! The game is over."
I'll take the whistle from her and blow it myself for her.
The soldiers, half of them start celebrating as victors. The other half seem very depressed. They just lost what might be their last ever game of football on this earth. And little Miss Nanny joins you. At that moment, John Hancock steps out onto his balcony over the street. Slowly the bustling and the noise from the crowd dies down as they all slowly sense his presence. John Hancock coughs and steps forward with Betsy. "No big speech from me today. You all know your jobs. You all know what is at stake. Shall we just get this show on the road?" Betsy, seemingly a little bit not particularly happy with his big pep talk, steps forward, raises her assault rifle into the air, and screams, "Monofonto!" Half the street full of people yell back, "Monofonto! Good neighbor," she yells. And the other half of the street realizes what she is doing and meekly respond, "Good neighbor?" She repeats them both, "Monofonto! Good neighbor! Monofonto! Good neighbor!" The crowd repeats her, getting louder and more worked up every time until Betsy yells out, "For Ponderosa! Commonwealth United Forces, let's fucking go!" And with a wild cheer, everyone starts to move out of Good Neighbor. As you leave, you see the Dr. Amari, Nick Valentine, Frank Sullivan, a few gun runners, and General Isaacs watch as Good Neighbor empties before all going inside the third rail to make their short, hopefully very short journey to the Institute. You join the procession out of Good Neighbor and make your way down the street. As you travel down on the corner that connects, that's sort of there between Good Neighbor and Diamond City, you all meet with the troops coming out of Monofonto Towers, and now 1,000 people are marching towards Diamond City to war. As you arrive outside Diamond City, it is now time for you to make your way northwest. Jim finds Cassie in the crowd and gives her one last hug and a kiss, and you can hear them say to each other, "Come back, don't fuck around, don't take any risk, just get back to me once we have won." They share a final kiss, and Jim joins you. As you leave, you pass Betsy and John Hancock as they stand over a large map of Diamond City with their people. They see you and nod as you make your way northwest towards your war. As you walk by the Parkview district, the density of pre-war buildings starts to lessen, almost to none. You deduce that this must be a part of the city that received a direct hit during the Great War. You begin to see and walk past what appear to be pre-war tank traps, which slow down your approach. More and more of them as you draw nearer and nearer to your destination. On the horizon, you see a wall made up of rectangles of different colours. As you get closer, you see that these are old pre-war shipping containers that have been arranged to make an almost impenetrable wall. This is Fort Zero Dark, home of the gunners, and the only barrier between you and the sewers that stupid Jim, or Jim as he is now known, is leading you towards. As you approach, you spot various defensive positions along the top of the shipping container wall. Anyone can give me a perception survival test. Difficulty 3. Okay. You fail to spot anything out of the ordinary. It looks to be a pretty standard setup. Carl, you see that these different spots would be where you would put them if you were setting up a fort with defences. So, would you like to... so, now between you and your destination is this fort. What would you like to do?
So, Jim, you said that the sewer entrance we're looking for is past the fortress.
Yeah.
Wouldn't there be a sewer entrance on this side also that links up with that underground?
I don't know. I only know of the stuff that goes beyond this point. If we go down one earlier, I don't know the way through from there. I essentially... And he just grabs Augusta's arm and uses her Pip-Boy. You see, I was here. And so I know this area when it comes to the subterranean. Essentially, he knows sort of the area that doesn't really go past Fort Zero Dark to the southeast. You see what I mean? So this is the only entrance I know that will absolutely definitely get us there. Oh. Herbie, as he looks over the defences of Fort Zero Dark, is bothered not by what he can see, but what he can't. He can't see anyone manning those positions. He also sees smoke rising out of the centre of the fort.
Think something might have happened. Look at the smoke rising. Nobody's on the walls. Anybody got binoculars? Don't everybody answer at once.
Let me just check my bag.
That's a good question.
No.
Do you want the factors?
Yeah, I lost mine somewhere, but I think out in New Mexico somewhere. Looking closer, do I see the gates or anything damaged? Any structural?
You look at the gates and you see a figure standing in front of them. They're wearing black, they're wearing a hood, but you think that they're
Brotherhood.
glowing.
Glowing?
Yeah, a yellow glow. Like they're lit up.
Would I have any idea what that might mean? And I will point them out to the rest of the people, of course. What the hell is that glowing yellow thing? Other than easy to hit. And he's reaching for the missile launcher on Tumu.
Okay. Are you going to
He's
fire
not
the
gonna.
missile launcher?
No, he's just preparing in case he needs to.
Fair enough. So how would you like to proceed? At this point, Jim says, maybe we can sneak round. Not bother whoever they are.
That would be my choice right now, because I have no clue what that is, and we have one goal to complete. First things first.
Yeah, the main thing is we don't get seen by them, so we don't fire missiles at them or draw their attention to us in any way. We just get around them and we move along.
You see Herbie with a kind of somewhat disappointed face that you can't fire missiles right now.
Maybe when we come back, but the whole point is we don't want them following us.
I know, but I don't want them behind us either. But let's sneak, like you said. You have
Yeah.
to finish one thing first.
Yeah, I think that's one of those glowing ghouls.
Well, if it was a
So,
glowing ghoul, it would be attacking. They're feral.
yeah, well, maybe this one hasn't turned feral yet. Either way, we should take
Keep moving cautious.
Yeah.
And I'm looking behind us
wide
at the
berth.
string of 20 people. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we should give it a wide berth.
All right, this will be the last roll of the night. We are very much coming to the end. So, this is going to be a group sneak agility roll with a difficulty of 4. How a group roll works is that one person is elected the leader and they roll 2 dice as normal. They have the option of purchasing additional dice if they need it. And every other player rolls 1d20 and aims to get under their own agility and sneak. Every
Okay,
success.
Carl's rolling for the main group. He's got the best. No, not even a question.
So yeah,
Let's see here. How many action points do we have currently?
you
6.
spent a sum and then banked a load, so you're back up to 6 as I've got it.
Okay.
Yeah, with all the ones and stuff we rolled tonight. Ooh.
Yeah,
You rolled.
if you had more than 6 capacity, you'd have maybe like 15 hit points action points by now. So Jade's
All
roll
right.
is safely a fail.
I'm going to buy 3 extra die with that, so we have 1 action point left, because it's a very high difficulty we're going for.
So you 1, 2, 3. So yeah, you pass. So
I
That was
critically succeed.
6
so-
successes.
yeah, you nailed it.
Nice work.
Carl, you, as an expert of sneaking around and tracking and remaining downwind from prey, you guide the group, including 20 remarkably average soldiers, in a way that the figure does not notice you. And you are safe and on your way to the manhole cover that will lead you out of this area for the foreseeable future. As you sneak by, you glance over your shoulder and have a look at the figure's face. And it is both familiar and completely alien to you.
It's the gunner sergeant, isn't it?
It's Sergeant Barry, yeah. It's the golden woman, the glowing gunner sergeant, who has not noticed you. And with that, we'll leave it there. Next week, very quickly, maybe, well, depending on what you do now, you'll end up in a completely different continent. Not a continent. You'll basically get a whole new map. Do with what you like. But yeah, thanks for playing and thanks for watching, everyone.
Thank you.
Tune in tomorrow for Hunter, The Reckoning.
Not tomorrow.
Oh,
Next
what is
week.
tomorrow?
Please don't make me do it tomorrow.
Okay,
I'm not
I
re-
won't. Jesus.
We've got it. We've got Mothership on Tuesday, Vampire on Friday.
Dragon's Bane, hopefully, on Saturday.
Yep.
Okay. Let's do that then. Let's do all of those things. You should watch too. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.